We appreciate you stopping in with us this week. I'm Marty with Warehouse and Operations as a Careers podcast. Boy, I tell you, we've been working on some really good shows coming up next month. We're going to kind of be breaking into the transportation fields, maybe a little bit on drivers, 3PLs, and a little bit on freight brokerage. Until then, though, let's talk a little about being an equipment operator. We've been discussing several of the different positions in the warehouses and how to build our plans and set our goals to get us where we're wanting to go. I've heard from several listeners that's taking those general labor positions, just using them to get on the payroll and have already started taking advantage of their new experiences. You know, many of those goals, of course, lead to being an equipment operator. Maybe something like a pallet runner or an order selector using the electric rider jacks, maybe the doubles or even the triples. Right now, I'm working with several young men and women that's got their eyes set on being a forklift driver. You know, both the set-down and counterbalance units are the stand-ups and reach lifts. They're really excited about it. I guess by now you've heard me say many times, experience is the only way to become a proficient and professional operator. We'll probably be exposed to the electric pallet jacks first, and it's a pretty easy unit to operate. You know, I enjoyed my years of running pallets. Learned a lot about the front docks and especially the receiving process. You know, we just really talked about running pallets. You might want to check out episode 129. There I am kind of straying again. Anyway, so I wanted to share a story I heard a couple of weeks ago. A young man had been unloading trailers for about 3 months or so. He'd, of course, been through his PIT training, or 29 CFR 1910.178 course, as he'd been using the electric pallet jack to run stacked pallets off the trailers and onto the first 35 feet of the dock, staging them for his receiver. He had let his supervisor know that his eventual goal was to become an order selector for him, so his department's lead man had worked with him quite a bit, making sure he was getting the practice on the jacks and letting him run a few pallets every once in a while. Well, he had done a great job and was promoted to that runner position. He was pretty excited, that a position had opened up, and both his lead and supervisor was pretty happy for him. We've talked a couple of times about how human nature is really our own worst enemy. Really, it's so easy to get overconfident or maybe in a routine. Maybe comfortable is the word that I'm looking for. As equipment operators, we always will have to be familiar with our surroundings and be cautious at all times. That means being focused on the job at hand and following all the safety rules that we've been taught. He had been running pallets for about 6 weeks, and I've got to be honest, I'm hearing he was doing a great job. The safety manager had cautioned him once about using his horn when going down the cross aisles, and I believe one other occasion for not honking when he was coming out of the aisles into the front dock after dropping off his staged pallets. Nothing really serious. He'd been given a verbal caution, I believe the first time, and he had received a written warning the second time. On this particular day, he was running pallets straight down the aisle all the way back to the back of the warehouse. It was a big open area used for bulk storage, like overflow storage. The whole load consisted of 24 pallets, and they were double stacked. He was using a double pallet jack, so he was carrying 4 pallets at a time. The safety manager had seen him up on the front of the docks and just kind of cautioned him to slow down a little as he was carrying quite a bit of freight or a weight on each haul. Actually, the safety manager, I'm told, really kind of liked this young man. He liked his enthusiasm, and I'm hearing he would stop him occasionally just to give him some pointers, really kind of working with him. About halfway through his hauling this particular load, the safety manager was in the back area, and our young operator, sure enough, came out of the aisle into the bulk storage area, never honked his horn, and traveling really too fast. Hung a right after clearing the last bay and saw, you guessed it, the safety manager standing there. He didn't lose the load, thank goodness, but he had just made a huge mistake, and he knew it. The safety manager had no recourse but to remove him from the pallet jack. Of course, our young operator didn't totally understand. He admitted to not honking his horn, but stated he knew no one was working back there except him, so it should be kind of overlooked and a warning or a write-up should have been given to him. Now believe me, the safety manager had no problem pointing out that he was back there, and really anyone could have been assigned to haul to that area by any supervisor really at any time. Of course, I want to point out that he was removed from the equipment not for driving a little too fast after being cautioned, but for not using his horn when coming from the aisle and into such a large open area. I mean, he had been corrected twice before, at least twice before, and failed to follow the rule. In our new world as equipment operator, we have to follow the rules. We're being paid to follow the rules. And I hope that we've all learned that the rules are in place to protect ourselves and our peers and, of course, our teammates. The young man was put back on the docks unloading freight. Unfortunately, he ended up resigning after about 2 weeks. And I can understand, I really do, but ladies and gentlemen, we need to only get upset with ourselves in these situations. We're taught, or I hope that we're all taught, how to be safe and to use our equipment properly. I guess we can argue to any point, but in the end, the rules were not followed, and we know what the consequences are, right? Now, I'm happy to report that the young man found another job. He's running pallets for another company, and I've heard that he is a rule-following, by-the-book kind of guy now. With his experience, he was able to land another job and stay on his plan towards becoming an order selector. Now, I understand he really misses his old company, his old supervisor, and especially his previous lead man. I think that he realizes he's starting over now with a new supervisor. He'll need to show him that he cares and can do the job great. Get him to notice him like his old management did. Over the last 2 weeks, I've heard about 2 different forklift operators, reach lift drivers actually, in 2 different states, both having the same type of an incident. I intentionally didn't use the word accidents because both knew to avoid the situation. Thank goodness no one was injured, but there was damage and their positions were put at risk over something that never should have happened. The first operator was driving through a fire doorway with his forks raised just above the mask height, so the second tier was too high. He came out of the aisle and was going to drive through the doorway. The mask hit the top of that doorway. The second operator had just placed a pallet into the reserves and started lowering his forks or the carriage. He pulled out into the cross aisle, started to proceed down the aisle, and his mask hit the crossbeam. Both of these men were really good operators. One was very tenured, been driving several years, and the other one had been driving almost a full year. Both of them knew the rules. They knew to lower their forks before moving from their lift position, yet neither adhered to those teachings. Both were given serious warnings and had to go through retraining before they could return to work. Their suspensions cost them money, and their actions almost cost them their jobs. I hate to use that word again, but, human nature. It's our own worst enemy. They knew it was dangerous. They knew it was not the proper thing to do. They got comfortable, both in their surroundings and their abilities. It's all preventable, ladies and gentlemen. I know operators that's been driving forklifts for over 25, 30 years, and they've never had an incident. I'd call these men and women professionals and have had some outstanding careers as fork drivers. Take a look around your facility. You'll see that that's the norm, because operators that are not safe, not following the rules, are no longer forklift drivers. It's tough out there. In many instances, it's one and done. It's just really that serious. We're dealing with expensive product, expensive equipment, and our lives and the lives of others. There cannot be any wiggle room. We're paid for doing the job safely. Every facility I've ever been in has had a safety-first attitude. That's our responsibility. The moral to the story is stay focused. Just don't skirt the rules at all. It's just not worth it. There are not going to be any excuse that's going to get you out of it. Productivity, being behind, getting out of everyone's way, things like that. Don't move that first inch until the lift is complete, meaning your forks are back on the ground. Equipment operation is fun, and it's safe, and can be our career or a stepping stone in our plan, but we have to accept that responsibility, follow our training, stay focused, and be that professional operator. It's so hard, but never give in to human nature, and never get comfortable with your abilities. Always know our surroundings and be safe in all that we do. Well, that's a few of our thoughts. I hope you agreed with our conclusions and that safety is your work culture, period. It'll pay off, I promise you. And please send us an email with any comments or topic suggestions you may have. We'd love getting mail. Until next week, be safe. We've all got loved ones waiting for us at home.